How do you repair your relationship after an emotional affair? Hi there, and welcome back to Ask Dr. Syra, the show where I answer your questions about relationships, mental health, and personal growth. Today's question comes from Suki. Suki asks, how do you rebuild trust after an emotional affair? How do you rebuild trust after an emotional affair? It's a tough one, right? So first let's talk about what is an emotional affair. So to me, when I hear emotional affair, what I understand that to mean is you're sharing parts of your hopes and dreams and fears with someone else instead of your partner. So somebody else knows kind of more about you in some ways than your romantic partner knows about you. So that's, I think, what I would guess emotional affair means in this context. So I think that's the first thing is like we have to define it because there are some things that other people will know about you that your partner may not necessarily need to know or want to know about you. For example, I have girlfriends who I talk to about stuff that's going on in my life in a way that I don't really with my partner, with my husband. First of all, because he doesn't really care. Second of all, because he wouldn't really get it. He doesn't have the same lived experience of being a woman, for example. And so there's things that I can talk about with others who are not the same gender as him and not as connected to me as him that I might not be able to talk about with him. However, is it a secret from him? No. Am I secretly talking about these things with other people? No. Could I share with him what I'm sharing with other people? Sure, right? So the emotional affair happens when I'm sharing something with somebody who I might be able to have a romantic relationship with. And so there's that potentiality, right? Because I don't think we talk about emotional affairs really if you're confiding in your best friend. And your best friend happens to, and you happen to be heterosexual and you're not attracted, your best friend's the same gender, for example, right? So it's like that word emotional affair comes up because there's a potential of a physical affair that comes out of this emotional affair. That's why it becomes sticky. So first of all, we have to define what do you mean by an emotional affair. Now let's talk about why they happen. Why do emotional affairs happen? Well, they happen because this other person has made things safe in a way, emotionally safe, for you to confide in them in a way that your partner hasn't been able to do or doesn't want to do or doesn't know how to do, right? So this happens because you're looking to share a part of yourself that your partner, for some reason, can't seem to hold. That could mean there's distance between you and your partner. There might be intimacy in other ways, but as far as your emotional vulnerability, you're not willing to go that deep for some reason with your romantic partner. Now, I'm assuming that your romantic relationship is steady and healthy, not that it's like abusive or dysfunctional, right? So if you're in a steady, healthy, monogamous relationship, and you're in a partnership, then the hope is that you'd be able to confide in your partner about most of the things about your life, and you wouldn't have to hide and secretly go confide in someone else somewhere else. So why does it happen? It happens because the foundation isn't there in the romantic relationship for you to be as vulnerable or visit as deep issues as you might want to be in your partnership. So that's why it happens, because you're getting something somewhere else that you can't get or you don't know how to get in your romantic partnership. Okay, so that's the first thing, is defining it, understanding why it happens. So the next thing we have to move to is, okay, what to do about it. What do we do about it? How do you rebuild trust? Well, it said trust takes years to build and a moment to break, right? Like rebuilding trust isn't as easy as just, I just do this one thing and I can have trust back. What it requires, if you're the person who had the emotional affair, First of all, are you willing to acknowledge to yourself why this happened? What was missing in the foundation of your relationship that maybe you also contributed to, right? So not just blaming the other person of they couldn't be there for me, but taking some ownership and saying, well, why wasn't I comfortable? Like, what went wrong there? And kind of taking ownership for your part in it. When we take ownership for our part in it, then it becomes easier to even think or talk about forgiveness and repair, right? Trust can only come after repair. So there has to be some sort of something that you do to heal and repair that. I'm assuming that from the question, how do you recover? How do you build trust after an emotional affair? That both people know that the emotional affair has happened. Because it's possible that there was an emotional affair, it was secret. And so it's one person's kind of holding the guilt of that and the other person doesn't even know. That's a different situation. If both people know that this has happened, then it's about coming together and saying, what is our new foundation for our relationship? What ground was missing that we're going to focus on rebuilding, right? Rather than blaming and attacking and saying you did this and I didn't do that, right? Well, I mean, you'll probably go through a phase of that. But after that, saying what is the new foundation? What do we need to do as a couple to ensure that there's safety within this relationship for our deepest, darkest longings, secrets, the things that we want to be able to talk about. So that's that piece, is what is the new foundation? There has to be some sort of a willingness to forgive, right? Because with betrayal, people could feel justified in not forgiving. I didn't do anything wrong, so I shouldn't, why should I forgive them? But again, it takes, in a relationship is a dance, right? So both people have contributed to the breakdown in some way, maybe in a subtle way, maybe in a not obvious way, but becoming willing to see that maybe both people played a part here. The final piece around an emotional affair is at some point you have to be willing to leave it in the past. You have to, because otherwise that'll keep popping up in your relationship and it'll create a further wedge as you move forward in as a couple, right? So at some point, both people have to be willing to say, okay, it's happened. We've figured out why it happened, what was missing in our relationship. We've been willing to form a new ground and a new commitment to each other. And now can we just leave it in the past? If we don't leave it in the past, what happens is every future friendship, as you're moving forward, it's like there's always this suspicion of like, is this going to happen again? Is this going to happen again? And that's corrosive to a relationship. If you've decided you do want to stay with this person, you do want to continue a relationship with them, then be willing to leave it in the past. Don't bring it up again. Past is past. Once you've kind of, worked through the pain of it and worked through the resolution, then you leave it in the past. So that's what I would say about how to begin to rebuild trust. I don't even use the word rebuild trust. I would say begin to repair and redefine the relationship once you've teetered over that edge of an emotional affair. So those are my thoughts for that question. If you have a question, feel free to email me and I will fit it in one of our upcoming videos. Talk to you soon. Bye.